Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm so glad you are joining us today because we're tackling a topic that I think everyone has wrestled with at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
And it doesn't matter if you're a native English speaker or, learning it as a second or third language. This is a topic that just makes people sweat. We are talking about business English.
It's a massive topic, and I think for a lot of people, the term business English it conjures up these images of dusty textbooks, stiff suits, and memorizing these long lists of words that nobody actually uses in real life.
Exactly. You immediately think of jargon, right? Words
Right.
like synergy or let's circle back or my favorite, paradigm shift.
Yes, buzzword bingo.
And while, those words do exist, looking at the huge stack of research and source materials we have for today, the reality is so much more interesting. It is not just about vocabulary. It's really about the psychology of the workplace.
That is the key. That's the takeaway right from the start. It's about cultural nuances. It's about the very specific scripts you need to navigate. Well, everything from that terrifying first job interview
Oh, the worst.
to a really high-stakes negotiation, or even just, how not to be awkward at the coffee machine.
It is the difference between knowing English and knowing how to operate in a global business environment. And we have a really diverse stack of sources today to help us unpack this.
We really do.
We have vocabulary guides specifically for office workers. We have these incredibly detailed transcripts of workplace dialogues. I mean, it's like literally listening in on a new hire's first day.
Yeah, those are fascinating.
And then we've got guides on small talk strategies, expert advice on emails, presentations, phone etiquette. It's a complete toolkit.
And that's our mission today, isn't it?
Right.
We want to equip you, the listener, with that exact toolkit. We want to move beyond that textbook English, the hello, how are you, I am fine, robotic stuff.
Yes, exactly that. We want to get to the nuanced, the practical language that's actually used in real global offices.
How to sound polite but still be firm. That's a big one.
A huge one. And how to interrupt someone without being rude, which is a total art form. And, how to build authentic relationships, not just transactional ones.
So where do we start?
Let's dive right in at the very beginning. The gateway to the professional world. Segment 1. Mastering the job interview.
The dreaded job interview. There's no escaping it.
And what I found fascinating in our sources is that the advice starts way before you even shake hands or, log on to the Zoom call. It starts with the prep.
Preparation is absolutely key, but the sources are really clear on this. Researching the company means so much more than just like looking at their homepage and memorizing their stock price.
Right. You can't just know they sell software. That's table stakes. You have to go deeper.
You have to dig into their successes, for sure. You want to be able to say, I saw you launched X product recently and the reception looked amazing. That shows you're paying attention.
But it's not just the good stuff, is it?
Not at all. You also need to look at employee sentiment. What are people actually saying on LinkedIn or Glassdoor? What is their social media presence like? Is it super formal and corporate? Is it playful? You need to know the vibe before you walk in.
So you're essentially trying to see if you speak their cultural language, not just their business language.
Exactly. You are trying to see if you fit. But then, okay, you've done the prep, you're in the chair or on the screen, and there's that one question, the icebreaker that actually freezes everyone's brain solid.
Premiere yourself?
Ugh, that one. It's the classic opener. And the biggest mistake people make here, according to all the material, is treating it like a first date or a therapy session.
So I probably shouldn't talk about my deep love for pepperoni pizza or my cat, whose name is Mittens.
Unless you are applying to be a pizza chef or a vet, then no. The interviewer, frankly, doesn't care about your hobbies yet. They're asking a very specific question. Who are you professionally, and why are you sitting here?
It's a test right from the get-go. So what's the formula? Because the sources, they outlined a very specific, almost foolproof structure for this.
It's a 4-part formula, and it's brilliant. First, you start with your current role. Currently, I work as a project manager at Company X.
Simple enough.
Second, you pivot to your educational background or relevant qualifications. I have a degree in marketing. Third, and this is where you start selling, you highlight your key skills and experiences that are relevant to the job.
And fourth?
Fourth, and this is the kicker, you explain why you are interested in this specific position. You connect your past to their future. You tie it all together.
I love that structure. It keeps you from just rambling on and on. One of the sources gave a great key phrase to bridge those ideas. I decided to study subject because
Right, that phrase is gold because it allows you to show your motivation. It gives your career a narrative arc, a story. It's not just a list of jobs. And then you can transition with something like my key strengths are. It is direct. It frames your whole story around the value you bring.
Okay, that's a great framework. But then comes the trap, the question everyone dreads. So what is your greatest weakness?
Oh, everyone hates this one. It feels like there's no right answer.
My gut reaction is always to say, I work too hard, or I'm just such a perfectionist. You know, the classic humble brag.
And the sources explicitly, in like bold letters, say, do not do that.
Really? But why not? It feels like the safe answer.
It feels safe, but it actually signals a lack of self-awareness. Every interviewer has heard, I'm a perfectionist 1,000 times. It sounds fake and rehearsed.
Okay, fair enough.
And on the flip side, you definitely don't want to mention a fatal flaw like, I'm lazy or I'm really bad at waking up in the morning.
Right. I'm not a morning person is probably not a great look. So what's the strategy? How do you answer a negative question without torpedoing your own interview?
You choose a real but minor weakness,
Yeah.
something manageable. And this is the most important part. You immediately explain the proactive steps you're taking to improve it.
Can you give us a concrete example from the text? I think that would really help.
Yeah, sure. One of the best examples was, I sometimes find it hard to prioritize tasks at the start of a big project because I get excited and want to do everything at once. So I now use the Eisenhower matrix method every morning to separate urgent tasks from important ones. It helps me focus my energy where it's needed most.
Wow, that is brilliant. You admitted a real flaw. I have trouble prioritizing, but you immediately showed you have a system to fix it.
You're not just aware of it, you're managing it. It turns a negative into a story about process improvement and self-awareness. It's incredibly powerful.
It shows you're a problem solver, not a problem haver. Okay, what about another tough one? When they lean in and ask, why should we hire you? That feels so aggressive.
Is the sales pitch moment. This is where your research comes in. You have to connect your specific skills to their specific needs, the ones you uncovered in your research.
Not just generic skills.
Never generic. The source material suggests using a specific phrase here. I was able to hone these skills.
Hone. That's a great word. It sounds so professional.
It means to sharpen or perfect. So you'd say, I saw in the job description you need someone with experience in data visualization. I was able to really hone that skill at my last job, where I created a new dashboard that increased our team's efficiency by 15%.
See, that's specific. It has a number. It's tangible.
Yeah.
And then there's the minefield of why did you leave your last job? Especially if, you hated it.
The golden rule here, and it was repeated across multiple sources, is never, ever, ever speak negatively about a past boss or a past company.
Even if your boss was a complete nightmare.
Even then. Especially then. Because if you badmouth your old boss, the new potential boss just thinks, is this person going to be badmouthing us in a year? It makes you look unprofessional.
Do you have to pivot?
You have to pivot. You focus on seeking new challenges, opportunities for growth, or a better cultural fit. You frame it as running towards something exciting, not running away from something terrible.
That is a great mindset shift. And finally, at the very end of the interview, they always ask, so, do you have any questions for us?
And the absolute wrong answer is no.
But it feels polite sometimes to say no. Like, you've explained everything so well, I have no questions.
It feels polite, but in a business context, saying no suggests a lack of curiosity or genuine interest. It can look like you haven't done your homework or you just want any job, not this job.
So what should you ask?
You should always have at least 2 or 3 questions ready. Ask about the team dynamics. What's the team culture like here? Ask about the role itself. What would a typical day or week look like in this position? Or ask about the future. What are the biggest challenges the team is facing in the next 6 months?
It shows you are already picturing yourself in the role. You're thinking ahead.
Exactly. It shows engagement.
Okay, so we've aced the interview. We got the job offer. Now we're in the building. This moves us to segment 2, building bridges. And this is all about the art and science of small talk.
I love that you called it a science, because it really is. One of our sources points out that small talk makes up as much as 1/3 of all adult speech. It is not just filler conversation.
It's the glue.
It's the glue of the workplace. It's essential for building trust, a sense of belonging, and collaboration.
I have to admit, I used to hate small talk. It just felt so fake and pointless. But the research is very clear. It matters. So what are we supposed to talk about? The sources gave us a kind of universal list of safe topics.
The safe list is your safety net, especially when you're new. First up, the immediate environment. The venue, the food at the event, or the classic. The weather.
The weather is a classic for a reason, isn't it? Everyone experiences it. No one gets offended by it.
Exactly. It is perfectly neutral ground. Then you have geography, hometowns, travel experiences. I hear you're from Chicago. How has it changed since you lived there? That's a great open-ended question.
Entertainment is a big one too, especially now.
Huge. Books, movies, TV shows, podcasts. And asking for recommendations is a great strategy here. Have you listened to any good podcasts lately? It lets people talk about what they're passionate about.
And work, obviously. But not in a creepy interview-y way. More like, what attracted you to this industry in the first place?
Right, the origin story. And one that stood out to me from the list, pets. The sources say people absolutely love sharing photos of their dogs or cats. It humanizes you instantly.
It's a universal connector, but you do have to be careful. The sources brought up a fascinating point about the huge cultural differences in what's considered appropriate small talk.
This is crucial for anyone working in a global or multicultural team. The sources contrasted the approach in countries like, say, Sweden versus India.
Break that down for us. What's the difference?
Well, the source material notes that in a place like Sweden, casual chat can sometimes be seen as a bit pointless, and privacy is very highly guarded. You probably wouldn't want to walk up to a Swedish colleague you just met and immediately ask about their family or their weekend plans. Silence is more acceptable.
It's not seen as awkward.
Not necessarily.
Huh.
But in a country like India, according to the sources, personal questions about salary, family, marital status, they're much more normalized and often expected. It's a way of showing genuine interest and building a real connection.
So the big advice there is read the room. You have to observe and adapt.
Precisely. You have to consider your audience and the cultural context before you dive into personal topics.
Now, for all our introverts listening, and I know many people find this whole song and dance absolutely draining, the sources had some really specific, actionable strategies.
The best tip for introverts, by far, is to ask open-ended questions. Questions that start with how, why, or what. It takes all the pressure off of you to talk.
How so?
Well, if you ask, how did you get started in this field? The other person does all the heavy lifting. They tell you a story. You just have to listen, nod, and maybe ask a follow-up question. You become the interviewer.
I like that. Also, compliments.
Yes. A simple, genuine compliment can be a great icebreaker. I really liked your slide deck in the meeting today. The design was so clean. It's an easy win.
And they mentioned something I never thought of, an elevator pitch for socializing. Not for selling a product, but for introducing yourself.
Right. So when someone asks, what do you do? Don't just say, I'm an accountant. That's a conversation killer. Use the formula. Job title plus company plus main responsibility.
Give me an example.
I'm a senior accountant at Tech Solutions, and I primarily handle the internal audits for our European division. See, that gives the other person so much more to work with. They can ask about Tech Solutions, about Europe, about what an internal audit actually is.
That is super helpful. It gives them hooks for the conversation. Okay, let's move on. We're settled in. Now for segment 3, the daily grind, office routine and culture. And we have a great case study here from the source material involving 2 characters, Daniel and Olivia.
This was a really useful dialogue because Daniel is the new hire, and he is just confused, which is completely normal.
Yeah.
And Olivia is the friendly mentor figure who's showing him how the office actually works beyond the employee handbook.
One of the first things Daniel was stressed about was the arrival time. A simple thing, but it's fraught with anxiety. He asks her, how do I follow the daily routine?
And Olivia explains the unwritten rule, the office rhythm. She says most people arrive around 9:00 a.m., but some come in at 8:30 for a quiet start. This teaches us that punctuality and office hours are often part of a subtle culture you need to observe in your first few weeks.
Daniel also seems to be struggling with task management. He's trying to do everything at once and feels overwhelmed.
Olivia's advice here is absolute gold, she tells him. Write down 3 main tasks for the day. Just 3, not 20. It's all about prioritization to maintain your sanity.
Then we get to the really scary part for a new employee, deadlines. Daniel seems to treat deadlines like these life or death situations.
And Olivia completely reframes this for him. She tells him that deadlines should be seen as guides, not as threats. They're goals to work towards.
But what if you can't finish? That's the nightmare scenario, right? Missing a deadline in your first month?
This is probably the most important script in this whole section. Olivia tells him, communicate early, don't hide. The key phrase she gives him is, I'm running into an issue with this report and I might need more time. Can we adjust the deadline?
It sounds so simple when you say it like that, but it is so hard to actually say to your boss.
It is. But she emphasizes that managers prefer honesty to silence. They hate surprises. If you're going to miss a deadline, tell them 3 days before, not 3 minutes before. It gives them time to adjust.
True. Silence is the real enemy. Now, they also touched on office hierarchy. Daniel wasn't sure what to call his boss, Mr. Smith or John.
Olivia clarifies that in this modern office, and this is true for many Western, especially tech, companies' first names are standard, even for senior managers. But she gives a great polite check phrase if you're ever unsure.
What's that?
Just ask directly and politely. How would you like me to address you?
That is a safe way to ask without being awkward. It's perfect.
It shows respect, but it puts the ball in their court to set the level of formality.
And then there's the topic of giving feedback. Daniel was afraid to give feedback on a project because he thought it might sound rude or critical, especially since he's new.
The source material suggests using the sandwich method. You start with something positive, give the constructive criticism, and end with something positive. Or at the very least, you keep it constructive. Instead of, this design is bad, you say, I really like the color palette. I was wondering if maybe we could try a different font to improve readability. It frames it as a contribution, not a criticism.
It's collaborative language.
Yeah.
Finally, Olivia dropped some real wisdom on work-life balance. She told Daniel, this job is a marathon, not a sprint.
Which is a very common business idiom, and it's so true. She explains that tired, overworked employees make mistakes. Resting, exercising, having hobbies. She mentions that she plays the guitar. It all actually improves your work performance. You come back refreshed.
And what about leaving work on time? Is that okay?
She says it's not only okay, it's culturally acceptable. You don't have to stay late just to perform working hard. It's about being efficient with your time, not just present at your desk.
I think we all need to hear that sometimes. Okay, let's get into the real nitty-gritty, the tools of the trade. Segment 4, the toolkit mastering telephones and emails.
Let's start with the phone. I feel like in the age of Slack and email, phone anxiety is a real thing for a lot of people.
It totally is. You have no time to edit your words. So how do we start a call professionally?
When you answer the phone at your desk, don't just say hello. You should say hello, your name's speaking. Or if you're representing the company, this is your name from company. It establishes your professionalism instantly.
And if you're the one calling and you need to get past the receptionist, the quote-unquote gatekeeper.
You use polite, formal phrasing. May I speak with Jane Doe, please? Or could I speak to someone in the marketing department? You're always polite to the gatekeeper.
Good advice. What if the person isn't there, they're in a meeting or out of the office?
You leave a clear, concise message. Could you please ask her to call me back at this number? And then you say the number slowly and clearly.
The sources also listed some really great practical phrases for technical difficulties, which, let's be honest, happen all the time.
Oh, constantly. You need these in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Simple things like, you're breaking up a little bit, or I'm sorry, there's a lot of background noise on your end, or just, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
And what if the call just drops completely?
The phrase is, we got cut off. I love this phrase because it's passive. It doesn't blame anyone. It's not, you hung up on me or my phone died. It's just a neutral statement of fact. It saves face for everyone involved.
That's smart. Now, interrupting on the phone is really hard because you don't have any of the visual cues you'd have in person.
So you need to use verbal signals.
Yeah.
You have to flag that you're about to speak. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure I understood that correctly. Or can I just jump in here for a second?
And what if you need a moment to look something up on your computer?
Bear with me for just a moment while I pull that up.
Bear with me. That is such a specific English phrase. It just means be patient with me, right?
Exactly. Or a more direct version is, can I put you on hold for a second?
In ending the call, it can be so awkward you can't just hang up.
You have to signal that the call is ending. A great phrase is, well, I'd better let you go. It sounds like you were doing them a favor by ending the call. Or, more informally, I've got to run, and we always pronounce it gotta.
Okay, let's move to email. The sources were very, very specific about proper etiquette here.
The greeting matters more than people think. The advice is to use Mrs. for women in a professional context, not Mrs. or Miss, because Mrs. is neutral regarding their marital status. It's the standard.
And what about dear sir or madam?
Only as a last resort if you absolutely cannot find a name. But in the age of LinkedIn, you should almost always be able to find a name.
And attachments. This is a pet peeve of mine. I often see people write, please find enclosed.
The expert advice in our sources is to stop doing that immediately. Enclosed is for physical things you put inside a physical envelope. In an email, the word is attached. I have attached the quarterly report. Simple, correct.
Okay, and what about making requests? I feel like my emails can sometimes sound too demanding. I want you to send me the file.
Way too direct.
Hmm.
You soften the language, use phrases like, I would appreciate it if you could send the file by end of day, or the even softer, I was wondering if it would be possible for you to. It turns a demand into a polite request.
And the sign-off. What's the standard?
Best regards, or just regards, is the safest, most professional standard. And there's a key grammar point here. The phrase is, I look forward to hearing from you. It's always hearing, the ing form, not I look forward to hear from you.
That's a good catch. A small mistake that can make you sound less fluent. Okay, segment 5. Meetings and presentations. This is where you have a live audience.
Meetings have a specific mechanic to them, a structure. There's usually a chairperson whose job is to manage the agenda, which is the roadmap for the meeting. And their most important job is to keep time.
So they're the ones who have to say the hard things.
Exactly. They have to be able to say, okay, everyone, we're running out of time on this point. Let's move on to the next item.
If you're just a participant, not the chair, how do you make your mark without taking over?
Even simple contributions count. Just saying, I agree with that point, Sarah, validates the speaker and shows you're engaged. And if you're lost, it's better to admit it professionally than to stay silent and confused.
What's the phrase for that?
I'm not sure I followed. Could you explain that again? Or what exactly do you mean by synergy in this context? Asking for clarification is a sign of intelligence, not weakness.
Good point. And presentations. The sources really emphasized a concept called signposting.
Signposting is crucial. It's basically telling the audience where you're going on your journey. It starts at the beginning. Today, I've divided my presentation into 3 main parts. Then you use it throughout. Okay, so that covers our marketing plan. Now let's move on to the sales projections.
It's like a GPS for your speech.
That's a perfect analogy. And at the end, you signpost again. That brings me to the end of my final point. It manages the audience's expectations.
And when you're using visuals like a chart or a graph,
You have to verbally reference them. Don't just assume they're looking. Say, as you can see on this chart, sales have increased dramatically in Q3. You have to guide their eyes.
and handling questions from the audience, sources mentioned, you have a choice.
You do. You can set the rules at the beginning.
Mhm.
You can say, I'd appreciate it if you could leave any questions until the end, which is good for a tight schedule. Or you can say, please feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions, which makes it more interactive. You're in control.
I like that. You get to set the boundaries. Now, for segment 6, we have a story. I love these. The Alex case study. This was a narrative about a new marketing graduate at a tech company called Innovatech.
This story is fantastic because it's packed with high-level business vocabulary, but all in a natural context. So Alex is new, he's ambitious, and he's given a daunting challenge.
Daunting, meaning difficult and kind of frightening.
Exactly. He has to launch a brand new product, and the product itself is described as cutting edge, meaning it has the most modern, newest features. And the whole project is revolutionary. It's intended to cause big changes in the market.
And Alex, our hero, decides to face the challenge head on.
Which means he doesn't avoid it, he deals with it directly. The story says he conducts thorough research. He doesn't just look around on Google, he does a real deep dive into the data.
And what was the result of all this hard work?
The campaign he designed goes viral. It gets this massive wave of interactive attention online. The whole campaign becomes a benchmark, a new standard that others in the industry will be measured against. The level of engagement was completely unprecedented. It had never been known or done before.
It's a huge success. And then there's a twist ending, right?
There is. Alex gets called into a big meeting with the senior managers. He's nervous. He thinks he's in trouble. Maybe he went over budget. He's expecting critical feedback. Instead, they offer him a promotion.
It's the classic hero's journey, but it's set in a corporate office with spreadsheets instead of swords.
It is. But that vocabulary benchmark, unprecedented, daunting, cutting edge, those are power words. Using them correctly and in the right context really elevates your professional standing.
Speaking of promotions, that leads us perfectly into our final content segment, segment 7, Advanced Business Scenarios, Negotiation, and Promotions.
Right. This is where the communication gets really high stakes. In a negotiation, the language becomes very precise and very conditional.
Conditional. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's all about the if-then structure. You never give something away for nothing. You trade. A key phrase is, we would be prepared to offer a 10% discount if you could increase your order size.
Ah, I see. It links a concession to a demand.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And how do you start a negotiation? You don't just walk in and start yelling numbers. You set the stage. You might say, before we begin, I think we should establish a procedure for our discussion today.
That's very formal.
It sets a professional tone. Then you state your position clearly. From our point of view, the main priority is timeline, or our position is that the quality must not be compromised.
And if you have to disagree with their proposal,
You don't just say, no way, or that's a bad deal. You're polite but firm. I'm afraid we can't agree to that at this time. Or you can propose a compromise. Perhaps we can meet halfway on the price.
and what if you just need more time to think? You feel pressured.
There's a wonderful idiom for that. Let's sleep on it.
I love that phrase. It sounds so restful, but it's actually a very powerful strategic pause.
It really is. Now let's look at the case study of Lucy, who was asking for a raise. This is a situation so many of our listeners might face, and it's terrifying.
Lucy has been working hard. The case study says she's been putting in overtime, and she's brought in several big new projects.
The context is absolutely key.
Yeah.
She didn't just walk in and ask for more money because she's been there for a year. She demonstrated her value first. She had the receipts, the evidence of her success, and the boss acknowledges her performance. He says, Lucy, you've done a great job this year.
And what was the result?
A 15% salary increase and a promotion to sales team manager. A huge win.
But there was drama. Her colleague Tony was jealous. This part was so real.
Coney is the cautionary tale in this story. He goes to the boss and complains. And what's his argument? He says, but I've been here longer than her.
The classic tenure argument. I've been here longer, so I deserve it more.
And the boss just shuts it down completely. He explains very clearly why Lucy got the promotion. It was based on results, on the profit she brought in, on her extra effort. He tells Tony that while he has tenure, he hasn't brought in any new achievements recently.
So the lesson there is what?
The lesson is crystal clear. In a modern performance-based workplace, tenure does not equal promotion. Impact does. And you need the language and the evidence to articulate that impact.
That is such a powerful takeaway. Wow, we have covered so much ground today. From the first handshake at the interview to the final signature on a contract.
It really shows that business English is this complex system of clarity, politeness, and strategy. It is not just about being understood, it is about being effective and achieving your goals.
And it's about your identity, isn't it? The words you choose define who you are in that professional space.
Absolutely. They signal your confidence, your competence, and your cultural awareness.
So after all of this, what does this all mean for you, for our listeners? What's the final big idea here?
Well, if we zoom out and connect all these dots, the source material keeps hinting at the changing nature of work itself. We saw mentions of remote teams, hybrid models, a bigger focus on work-life balance. And as English becomes this global bridge connecting everyone, I think we have to ask ourselves a bigger question.
Which is?
How much of what we call business English is actually just cultural fluency?
That is a very provocative thought. Say more about that.
I mean, are we just learning English vocabulary? Or are we actually learning the rules of a very specific Western-centric or perhaps global corporate culture that is encoded in the language? The listener is really encouraged to not just memorize the phrases we talked about today, but to listen to the intent behind them.
So the why.
The why. Why do we say, I'd better let you go on the phone? It's about respecting the other person's time. Why do we use missiles in an email? It's about professional respect and equality. It's about understanding the underlying values of the culture.
So your advice is, don't just be a parrot repeating phrases, be a cultural detective.
Exactly. Understand the why, and you'll be able to adapt to any situation.
I love that. So here is your call to action, listeners. Try one thing from today. Maybe practice using some of the Alex vocabulary. Try to use a word like unprecedented or benchmark in a sentence this week. Or maybe an easier start, try one of the small talk starters we mentioned. The next time you're in a meeting, ask someone what attracted you to this industry and just see where the conversation goes.
And maybe go clean up your email greetings and sign-offs while you're at it. Check for those little mistakes.
Yes, no more misses unless you're absolutely sure. Thank you so much for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure, as always.
We will see you in the next one. Keep learning.